If anxiety has you caught in a loop of harsh self-talk and blame, today's episode is your invitation to step off that hamster wheel. I'm sharing 12 powerful statements that I use with my clients and for myself to gently disrupt the spiral of self-blame and bring in some self-compassion, some clarity and groundedness. These are not fluffy affirmations. They're deeply rooted in science and the science of self-compassion. And also, they're deeply rooted in cognitive behavioral therapy. So let's get you out of the loop and back into your life. Welcome to your Anxiety Toolkit, your go-to place for all things anxiety, OCD, and building a life you love. Here, we blend science-backed strategies with fierce compassion to help you face your fear, tolerate uncertainty, and live the life you have been longing for. So let's get started. One of the most heartbreaking patterns I see in my clients is the spiral of self-blame. Anxiety shows up, and instead of offering themselves kindness, they pile on the guilt. Why am I like this? Why can't I cope? What's wrong with me? It becomes a storm of self-judgment, but the truth is anxiety isn't your fault, and blaming yourself only deepens your suffering. So today, I want to offer you 12 statements that can serve as emotional lifelines for you. My hope is that each one of these touch you deeply. Maybe you take one away, maybe you take 5, maybe all 12 are exactly what you needed to hear. My goal is that I just get you to lean in and break this cycle. So let's get started. Okay, so before we get started with those 12 powerful statements, I want to just address one important point, which is addressing why self-blame is so common for folks with anxiety. Now, the thing to remember here is when we have anxiety, we already feel out of control. We already feel incredibly vulnerable. And then when we have that vulnerability, when we practice self-blame, we criticize ourselves, we punish ourselves, it gives us a false sense of control. It makes us feel like if we could just be a little better or do a little bit different or act a little bit different or have a different feeling, well, then the world would go back to being safe and easy again. And so these constructs are giving us the illusion that we have control when really we don't, nor should we. What happens here and what I want you to understand is that we do have anxiety. It's often out of our hands. It comes intrusively. It comes repetitively. Maybe it's in the form of sensations or intrusive thoughts, intrusive images, intrusive sensations. You're having these, and this is about our relationship with this idea that we are supposed to control our bodies. We aren't supposed to control our bodies. We don't have control over our bodies, but what we can do is change how we react. So I'm going to give you these 12 statements. What I want you to do is try them on for size. See if they feel yummy to you. Some of them you will love, some of them you may not, but the whole goal here is that you experiment with them, you practice them, even if they feel a little icky, and you start to replace them with this self-blame, self-guilt, self-punishment, self-criticism that you've been engaging in. The outcomes of self-blame are very, very bad. They make us feel worse about ourselves. They make us feel terrible. They make us feel like we're always in the wrong, and I want to move you away from that, especially if you're having anxiety and intrusive thoughts, because that alone is a full-time job. We don't need any more suffering. So let's try these on for size. My hope is that you have a pen. If you don't and you're driving, that's okay. You can just listen along, take what you need, leave what's not helpful for you, and I hope they hit you exactly where you need them to hit. So let's get going with them. Okay, so we have 12 powerful statements to interrupt self-blame. Number 1, it's okay to feel anxious. This does not mean I'm failing. Something to remember here is we have misinterpreted anxiety as, this thing that we're supposed to have control over, and we're not supposed to have any bad emotions, and we're supposed to be always free and relaxed and totally lax about things. Well, the truth is, as I'll say it again, it's okay to feel anxious. That doesn't mean you're failing. We can bring the anxiety along with us. Okay, let's go to number 2. Number 2 is I'm having a hard moment, not a hard life. Sometimes when we have anxiety, we tell ourselves that this is going to be forever. So I'm going to repeat this one. Number 2, I'm having a hard moment, not a hard life. That our suffering in this moment is temporary. It will rise and fall on its own. Okay, the third powerful statement to interrupt self-blame is I'm doing the best I can with what I know right now. This one is so important because often what we do is we go through something hard. We then learn from that. And then we go into self-blame and say, you should have known better. You should have handled it better. That you could have done it this way. You could have done it that way. Again, self-blame. But what we want to do here, and I will repeat number 3 again, is I'm doing the best I can with what I know right now. And you can't know everything before things have played out. You often need to accept the uncertainty that we don't know what's going to happen, and we're going to ride that uncertainty and hope for the best, and we don't have to be perfect. Okay, the fourth powerful statement to interrupt self-blame is my anxiety is not a flaw. It is a biological response to trying to protect me. This is key, you guys. Your anxiety is not a fault. It is not a character flaw of yours. It is just your brain trying to tell you of all the potential catastrophes that could potentially happen if A plus B equaled C. That's what your brain is trying to do. It's trying to protect you. This is not an innate problem. It's not something that defines who you are. It is just a biological response. One that we could actually reframe by saying, thank you, brain. I know you're trying to keep me safe, but right now you are jumping the gun. You're being a little bit of a drama queen. And I'm actually just going to stay here in the present and face my fears for this moment because I can't keep responding to every potential danger all the time. It takes me away from the things that I value. Okay, number 5. This moment is painful and I deserve support, not punishment. Think of it this way. When you stub your toe on the end of the bed, everybody's done that, right? Or is it just me? When you stub your toe on the end of the bed, on the corner of a table, that is you suffering. We don't need to add self-punishment and self-blame to that suffering. You're suffering enough already. What we need to do is attune to the fact that we've stubbed our toe, slow down, take care of ourselves so that we can move on to the next activity. But we can't push through and try and avoid it and judge and blame ourselves for that. So I'm going to repeat this. Number 5, this moment is painful and I deserve support, not punishment. Let's move on to number 6. Progress is not linear and setbacks are a part of the path forward. That is a little bit of a tongue twister. So this is so important, and it's something that we talk about in all of our online courses at cbtschool.com. Anytime you are navigating a mental struggle, you have to remember that progress is rarely ever linear. In fact, I often talk to clients that we don't want linear improvements because we miss an opportunity to learn and understand our own vulnerabilities, our own struggles. We miss the opportunity to meet ourselves compassionately when things are going not the way we wanted them to. So what we want to do here is we want to embrace the fact that recovery is an up and down process. When you're doing really well, great. Celebrate that. When you're in a bit of a valley and you've had a few setbacks, recognize that this is very normal for a recovery. I've never had a client who hasn't had massive setbacks through their recovery. What they do though, the ones that recover are the ones that when there is a setback, they pause, they slow down, they take a look at what is going well and what isn't, and they make small adjustments. They don't stay and ruminate in the shoulda, woulda, coulda, you could have been doing it better and you should have done it better. They don't do that. They go, all right, that was a bit of a flip-flop. Okay, we can see what happened there. I can see the vulnerability that showed up. I can see what the triggers were. I can see what was getting in the way. Maybe it was sleep. Maybe it was menstrual cycles. Maybe I was stressed at work. Maybe our brain was just braining. Sometimes our brain just brains, and we have to recognize that is normal. That is not a problem, and it does not determine that whether you will recover. Because I've never had a client who recovered that didn't go through these ups and downs. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is I don't have to believe everything my anxious brain tells me. So in this case, when we have anxiety, instead of going into self-blame, you're so bad things are going to happen, bad, we can just observe our thoughts and go, interesting. My brain is offering me the story that I should have not had anxiety. My brain is offering me the story that, I would be bad if something bad happened, or that I am worthless if something bad happens, or that it's my job to prevent all bad things from happening. Again, we can say, all right, brain, I see what you're trying to do. I see that you're trying to protect me, but I don't have to believe everything you say. In fact, I would be willing to say that a lot of what your brain says, almost everything your brain says when you're anxious, is a whole bunch of baloney. It's lies, and we have to get used to that. Same goes for depression. A lot of what our depression tells us, or everything our depression tells us, is a whole bunch of lies. We have to be able to observe those thoughts and not buy into them every single time. Okay, so let's move on to the 8th powerful message statement we can use when we fall into the cycle of self-blame. This isn't forever, meaning if you've had anxiety or something didn't go well, you could say, this isn't forever. I can ride this wave and it will pass. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone through a major setback in my own mental health. And in that moment, I think, oh my gosh, is this going to be how it's going to be forever? And I always remind myself, looking back, the only reason I've recovered to the amazing place that I have, and the only reason my clients have recovered in the amazing way they have, is because when they fell, they got back up 100% of the time. It might have taken them some time. They may have scuffed their knees quite a few times. It might have been a few ups and downs. Again, recovery is not linear, but they recognize that this is just a wave. This is a temporary discomfort, and we will ride this one out just like we've ridden out every other one. We don't need to blame ourselves. It's okay that we're on the wave of discomfort. It's okay that we made the mistake, because we all make them. We all say the wrong thing. We all offend people. We say things that were hurtful by accident, even though we didn't mean to. We all mess up. We all have thoughts we really wish we didn't have. And we can just say, okay, we're going to let these rise and falls we're going to let them rise and fall like waves of the ocean. We're moving on. Number 9. The 9th powerful statement to interrupt self-blame is, I can be anxious and still show up for what matters. There is one theme that I teach in every course, in every podcast episode, and in every session with my clients, is that we can always choose to show up for what matters. There is no emotion we cannot tolerate. I just had a consult with one of my employees. We have a team of 7 amazing therapists in my private practice, and I had said to them, we want to make sure our clients understand that there is no anxiety, there is no discomfort we cannot tolerate for short periods of time. It becomes a conversation about how willing we are and how our relationship is with our own discomfort. When we have discomfort, are we willing to feel it without without beating ourselves? Are we willing to feel it without resisting it? Are we willing to make space for it while we move on to doing the things that we value instead of sitting on the couch and just staring and thinking and catastrophizing? I get it. I've been there. We all have, but we can move on to doing the thing that matters. And what I would encourage you to do here is, if this is really hard for you, get a sticky note or a note section in your phone and write down the things that matter to you, so that if you're alarmed, your brain is on fire, you're having a hard time thinking about what you could be doing, you can resort back to looking at that and going, okay, what matters to me? I was going to record a podcast today. I was going to make sure that I ate some lunch today, or I ate a good healthy meal, or I went and took my kids on a walk, or I went to the gym, or I finished this project, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. It could be even brushing your teeth, getting out of bed. We want to always focus on getting done what matters and not letting anxiety and self-blame talk us into ejecting ourselves from that plan. Okay, so let's now talk about the 10th powerful statement we can use to interrupt self-blame. And it is, anxiety doesn't mean I'm weak. It means I'm wired to care deeply. This is very important. I have never met an anxious folk, you guys, who do not care deeply about the world that they live in, the people around them, and what matters. People with anxiety tend to be the most loving, most caring, sensitive, value-driven human beings. They have strong morals. They have strong conviction. Even if anxiety has sort of taken that from them, deep down underneath their anxiety, they are wired to care deeply. And to be honest with you, I would not want to take that away. I personally have said to clients, I'd prefer you to have a little bit extra anxiety if it meant that I got to be with you and experience you in this richness of who you are and what you care about and the things you value and your mission here on planet Earth. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but let's say it again. Anxiety doesn't mean I'm weak. It means I'm wired to care deeply. Let's move on now to number 11. We are getting close. Number 12 is my favorite, so let's stick around for that. And it says, this is hard and I'm handling it the best I know how. So again, something uncomfortable has shown up. Your instinct is to go in and mull on the blame and punishment and criticism and self-judgment. You are going to pause before you move into that, and you're going to remind yourself, this is hard. I'm going to create some space for this discomfort, and I'm going to handle it the best I know how. Now, here on your Anxiety Toolkit and at cbtschool.com, my main mission is to give you as many tools as you have. So if you need those tools, go to CBT School. We'll go back. We have over 450 episodes that will help you to really strengthen those skills so that you know what you can do in the face of anxiety, so that you're not flailing and then moving on to self-blame. And number 12 is, anxiety is not my fault, and I am going to choose how to respond to it, and it's not beating myself up anymore. So what you may do with this last one, and the reason I really love this last one, and you can reframe it, I actually want you to reframe it to your own language, is this is where you take a stand. This is where you commit to no longer doing this. So for me, it would be saying, anxiety is not my fault, and I refuse to beat myself up, to blame myself one more time. You probably will. We're human beings. But we want to make a stand. We want to make a commitment. I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. This is not kind. I would not do it to anybody else that I love. And it doesn't give me any benefit. It doesn't mean I'm in control. It doesn't mean that I can change anything. All it does is increase my suffering. And so I'm making a stand. I refuse to beat myself up anymore. I refuse to blame myself for things that are out of my hand. I would never ask this for myself. I would never wish this on myself or anybody else. And therefore, I'm not going to blame myself anymore. So I hope that that is helpful. Okay, folks, I've just given you 12 powerful statements to interrupt self-blame. Please let me know which one you loved the most. This episode was actually inspired by a post I made on Instagram. I posted, what are some powerful statements that are helpful for you? And these are the ones that people reported. So I hope that they have been helpful for you. I do hope that you are treating yourself as kindly as you can. Once again, please go over to CBT School. We have all the resources there. I am constantly adding resources for you. I would love nothing more to provide you resources, particularly for those folks who don't have access to therapy. Our courses are created for folks who don't have the money, don't have the time, or the access to therapy. And my goal was to give you a resource that will get you going in the right direction. So head on over to cbtschool.com. I hope you have a wonderful day. And do not forget, today is a beautiful day to do hard things. I'll see you next week.